And we are live. What's good, y'all? Oops, wrong button. What's good, y'all? Your man, Bill Saint. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing? Downrange Podcast, man. Y'all know how we get down. Let me pull the banner up because it's under this. Yeah, let me pull the banner up because I forget. What's good? How y'all feeling? Hope you guys are having a happy Thursday. It's almost the weekend, y'all. It's almost the weekend. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of really want to know stuff, man. A lot of manosphere stuff, relationships, and and did a little bit of politics. We really want to know when Trump went in. That really should have been under this. That should have been downrange, but hey, it is what it is. But today we're doing a proper downrange podcast, man. We're talking about the Fed pause. Um, Jerome Powell, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but the chairman of the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank for America, uh, has been fighting inflation and aggressively fighting inflation by raising interest rates, right? So anyone who's out there looking for a house or anybody who's out there who's a business person, you've noticed the interest rates have gone way up. Money is no longer cheap. Well, Jerome Powell was doing that because money was cheap for so long. It was 0% interest for so long. And, that can't last forever without affecting inflation. And I want to be upfront, guys. I'm no expert on this stuff. All I am is a dude who's an old man who's in his attic talking to his computer, trying to figure it out like all of you. Only difference is I don't have to work a 9 to 5 because I'm retired. I mean, I'm doing this and I have other stuff that I do, but I'm not tied to a 9 to 5 like you are. And some people are tied to multiple 9 to 5s, and then you're tied to your side hustle on top of it. So all I try to do on these platforms is get stuff out there, food for thought, stuff that you can think about, and maybe kind of do your own research and then double back right back here and we can talk about it. So inflation was really out of hand. And the only way to fight inflation was to raise interest rates. So that's been the plan. That's what the Fed's been doing. It's been no secret there. That's how it works, right? So okay, cool. That's what we're doing. Fine. Well, when you raise inflation, when you make money expensive, it messes with the economy. That is how it, that's how you bring down inflation. You make money expensive and that counterbalances and it brings inflation down, but it makes things more expensive to borrow, like to run businesses. But, in theory, I guess it helps your purchasing power long term, right? So we've talked about that. Like we've talked about what's going on in Argentina with their inflation, runaway inflation, and their issues in that country. We've talked about Venezuela on this platform. So now we're gonna talk about this. So the Fed has been increasing interest rates, you know, without fail. Well, yesterday, the Fed announced that they weren't going to increase interest rates for the month of June. They're just going to kind of pause, and that's what they're calling it, the Fed pause. They're just going to just kind of sit back and watch. But the Fed is also sending mixed messages. So where do I go when I have questions about this sort of stuff, man? I go to Rebel Capitalist himself, George Gammon. I go to his platform, and I also go to Peter Schiff. So there's a couple things that we have found that we gotta talk about. Right, we gotta talk about it, y'all. So we gonna let you hear what brother George Gammon has to say about all this, and I think it's some good information. And again, you don't have to be some high powered Wall Street person to understand what's going on. You don't have to have your nose buried in a Wall Street Journal or whatever to understand what's going on. It's real basic when you get down to it. And George Gammon has a real good way of stripping away all the BS and just getting to the nuts and bolts of it. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. Sister Candace is in the building. What's good, love? How you feeling? Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to see you, man. And we got GMC Hammer, man. We got the Knights in the building, man. The New Templars are in the building. What's good, fam? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the love. So we're gonna watch a little bit and see what George Gammon has to say about this. I was watching this yesterday, and then the Peter Schiff thing I watched today, and I gotta tell you, like when I heard the news that the Fed was not raising interest rates, I was scratching my head. I'm like, all right, what's going on? What's going on? Is he afraid? Like, is he? What is he looking at? What's the deal? And then you listen to what they say, and it's a mixed message, right? So, I kind of agree with Peter Schiff on this, and we'll see what Peter Schiff have to say here in a minute. But first, we're gonna start with George Gammon. So let's check this out, y'all. Again, this is the Rebel Capitalist, George Gammon. If you haven't, please go to his YouTube channel and subscribe. He also has his another YouTube channel under his name, George Gammon. Subscribe to that one as well. This brother puts out some excellent information, and like I said, he strips it down to the nuts and bolts. And these financial people, they purposely use these colorful words and all these charts and graphs and all this stuff. They're trying to keep you confused. And brother George, he harps on it. He touches on it right that point in this video. So let's check it out.
Okay, so now let's fast forward to what the Fed did today. Like we said earlier, they paused. Here's a real-time article from CNBC. Chairman Powell speaks after Federal Reserve rattles markets with higher rate outlook. So this is, I can't believe they still fall for this. Can you? And what I mean by that is, for some reason, the market, and I think this is just short term, the market continues to take the Fed at its word. I mean, how many times do they need to cry wolf before you're like, yeah, I don't really care about what they say, because every single thing coming out of their mouth is just propaganda. But yet the markets still hang on their every word. Is it not obvious what he's doing? He wants to curb inflation, but he knows that he needs to pause rates based on the fact, most likely, that the CPI went from 4.9 down to 4.0 in a month. Looks like we've got disinflation. So it looks like those interest rate hikes are working their way through the system. Okay. But he can't come right out and say, I'm going to pause, because then what the Fed thinks is that market participants and the average Joe and Jane will look at that and say, oh my gosh, the Fed is pausing. Let's buy asset prices. Let's buy homes. Let's do all these things that they think are going to increase the rate of inflation. So he can't come out and say, I'm pausing and I'm just going to wait for the data to see how it plays out. No, he has to do a hawkish pause. So he has to do, just for market psychology based on their worldview. He's got to come out and say, well, how can I pause, but yet at the same time not stoke aggregate demand or not stoke risk taking, go further out the risk curve or risk on, whatever you want to call it? Well, you've got to come out and pause, but then you have to say, but don't you worry, market. This might be a pause now, but you're not off the hook. No way, no how. We're pausing now, but just you wait. By the end of this year, we're going to be up to 10%. We're going to hike 2 or 3 more times. We're going to blah, 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 stick out your chest and you talk tough.
And that's exactly what's going on. There's a lot of talk, a lot of tough talk coming out of the Fed right now. And, since I've been trying to, ease my way into this world, like the Federal Reserve Chairman and the Secretary of Treasury, their words have weight. Their words move the markets one way or the other, up or down, whatever. So they choose their words very, very carefully. And this is the stuff he's talking about. See, Jerome Powell has to do this delicate dance. He understands that we have to get inflation under control, but he also understands that this is a big train and he's trying to turn the train, and it's a lag. So he's trying to see, okay, did we turn enough, right? Because we don't want to turn too much. Did we turn enough? So you have to sit there and let the turn roll out. Just let it roll out for a moment and then readjust, right? Okay, we need to turn some more. We need to go left a little bit more. Oh, we went too far. We need to go right. But it takes time. Everything they do, it lags. So you hear that term lagging indicator and this and that. There's nothing that goes on with money that's in real time outside of crypto, from what I can tell. So that's what Jerome Powell is trying to do. He has people in the mindset that money is expensive, to sit back and wait. Everyone's in a wait and see or buckle down mode. So he doesn't want to do the pause, right? And then people say, oh, it's over, let's go. and then they go do all the stuff he doesn't want them to do, which forces him to have to turn even harder. So that's what he's trying to do. But you got to have a stomach for it. Like, you got to be brave, and you got to, you got to stay the course. So is he willing to stay the course? Let's continue.
Because that's what he thinks he has to do in order to get the best of both worlds. Again, keep inflation or keep rates low, but at the same time, keep aggregate demand decreasing and therefore unemployment going up slightly. They don't want unemployment to go to 8%, but they'd really like unemployment to get up to, let's say, 4.5. And this is the way to kind of psychologically thread that needle. And the fact that like I said, the market participants in the mainstream media, CNBC, still take him at his word and don't see the ruse here is staggering to me. How do they, after all these years, how do they not see the game they're playing? It's obvious to you. It's obvious to me. And I'm just some random idiot on YouTube, for heaven's sakes. And you guys don't have an economics degree. You guys probably don't have a finance degree. You're just an average Joe and Jane. But yet it's crystal clear to you, but yet somehow it's not clear to Steve Leisman. I mean, it's unbelievable. So in case you're wanting to hear some details, the Fed keeps their benchmark range from 5 to 5.25. So keep in mind, reverse repo there, right around 5, discount window, call it 5.23, 5.25. And that's important because, they're paying the banks, let's say 5.15, guessing that's IOR. But the main rate there is reverse repo. And why is that so important? Because we know at the 1-month treasury, the 3-month treasury is going several basis points, not just several basis points, but if it's going way below, like 50, 60 basis points below reverse repo, that means that there's some serious problems in the system. There's some serious counterparty risk because there's a need for collateral. And keep in mind, this would be happening at a time when Janet Yellen is flooding the market with treasuries. Remember, she's going to she's going to issue, once they got the debt ceiling done, which they did a week ago, 2 weeks ago, she was going to issue $1 trillion for the T-bills just within the span of a month or two. So all that supply, you'd expect the price to go down. You'd expect the interest rates to go up. But like what we've seen, trying to click on the chart here. Okay. With the 1-month treasury, is that what has happened? It's gone, the yield has gone down. And it's getting closer and closer to reverse repo, which is supposed to be the Fed's way of controlling the floor of overnight interest rates, or something that would be equivalent like a 1-month treasury. So even though Janet Yellen is going to flood the market with all this supply, the yields are still going down, which tells you a lot about the level of counterparty risk that is within the system. Okay, getting back to the Fed.
So yeah, I hear all this stuff that's going on, right? There's all these variables. He's talking about the repo market. He's talking about Janet Yellen and the Treasury coming in with $1 trillion, more new money, flooding the market with this supply. They're talking about all these other terms and whatnot, right? All this factors in. This is why someone like Jerome Powell has to take a pause. Let me see how all these factors are coming together with these rate hikes. Let's look at inflation. All right. Jerome Powell and the Fed wants to get inflation down to 2%. Well, it's coming down, right? But inflation is really high. So they're not even close to that 2% number. They've cut down inflation a lot, but they're not at 2%. So he has to take in consideration all this stuff. And he's looking at all these charts and all these indicators. It's like, man, we're doing all this stuff, but these numbers are still going down. They're going the wrong way. And they call for this pause. So, and then George Gammon, as you can hear, it sounds like he's went and got himself a cold. He lives in Medellin, Colombia, which is like the land of the eternal spring. It's always nice down there, but he travels a lot. And I know he was in the States not too long ago. So somebody probably gave him something, right? Just traveling around on airplanes and stuff like that. But he's pushing right through it. Shout out to this brother. He's a warrior. But let's continue.
Statement here. The odds of July rate hike are about 61%. 61%. Who are these people that are predicting this? 61%? You know what's shocking to me is people just don't look at history. I mean, this is not rocket science, people. Just look at what they've done in the past. It's almost like people have selective amnesia, that they don't even want to look at what happened in the past because they assume that it just holds no bearing on what they're going to do in the future. And I just think that's, boy, to say that's weak thinking, or I think a better way to say that, it just completely is void of any intellectual curiosity or intellectual honesty. Look at this is a chart of Fed funds. And the reason I want to focus on this is let's look at the gray bars. This is the recession. Show me the time. Show me the time going back to, and we didn't have a recession there, where I guess you could say they did this in 1981. Okay, so we've got one time. So let's go back here. We've got data going back to 1957. So 1957, once they paused, as you can see, they did not take rates back up. Once they paused, the next step was pivot. Okay, how about late 1950s, going into 1960? You see this little flat line here? That's a pause. What happens next? Up or down? That would be down. What happens next? Right here, late 1960s. They pause, and then what happens? That would be down. You see where I'm going to this? Pause, 1973, down. Now we have this this situation where they did not do that, or something a little bit different, 1981. But okay, it's all based on probabilities. So right now we've got 4 times it went one way, and 1 time it went the other way. The next time, so now we're 5 and 1. The next time, same thing. So now we're 6 and 1. The next time, 2000, exact same thing. Pause, then pivot. So now we're 7 to 1. Here, GFC, exact same thing. Pause, pivot. Now we're 8 or 9. I'm losing track to 1. Exact same thing during the cerveza sickness. Now we're 10 to 1. So at the very least, 90% of the time, when they pause, the next move is not up, it's down. And now let's.
I mean, dude just keeps it 100, man. All the numbers are out there. He's just showing it to you. Here go the charts going all the way back to the 50s. Whenever there's they stop raising interest rates, there's a pause, the interest rates go down, not up. Only 1 in 10 times only as it did it go up, and then it went down again pretty quick. So think about that. I mean, and it makes sense. So Jerome Powell is sitting here trying to figure out how to handle this. Like, what do I do? He's trying to figure it out. But he's done the pause, and he's telling the media, we're going to raise interest rates. We're going to do it like at least two more increases to interest rates before the end of this year. Okay. But that's not what history shows. Right. And again, remember, his words have meaning. So when he made this announcement, it shook the stock market yesterday when he did it. When he made the announcement, it shook him. So he has to be careful with his words. But this is just, again, this is why I like watching George Gammon, man. He keeps it 100. Let's continue.
Think about this. What do you think the Fed was saying back in 2006? Do you think they were saying, we're going to pause, but the next rate hike is most likely going to be down? Or do you think they're saying that, we're going to pause and we're not going to give you any idea what we're going to do next. We're just going to be data dependent. What do you think they were saying back then? Answer, the exact same thing. They weren't pausing here in September of 2006 saying that, we're going to pause and then we're going to pivot. No, they're saying we're going to pause, and then likely they're saying the same thing. We're going to keep raising rates. We're going to be hawkish. We're going to be tough on inflation. So this is just a 1 or 2 month pause, but don't you worry. After that, we're going to keep hiking rates. then what do? The exact same thing they did every single other time before, with the exception of 1981. And it's good. I can't say that it's going to be, but I can say there's a 90% probability that it's going to be the exact same thing now. And that's exactly what the smart money, the bond market, is predicting. That once they pause, the next move is very rarely ever up. 90% of the time, it is down, regardless of what they're saying or what they said in the past. So why should we listen to what they're saying now? Just look at this chart, for heaven's sakes, and ignore what Jerome Powell is saying. And again, it's amazing that just some blowhard like myself on YouTube that has no experience in this, almost flunked out of high school, never taken an econ class, never taken a finance class, can it's just plain as day right here. I mean, a third grader could figure this out. But yet, for some reason, the mainstream media just completely ignores that. It's like history just doesn't even matter. So they say the metric, talking about the CME Fed Watch tool, hasn't moved much since Tuesday, even as central bank indicated the dot plot. Why we're looking at the dot plot, who knows? It's just it's a psyop. It's all, that's all the Fed is. It's one.
And there you have it right there. I know you guys are like, man, you hear, in the red pill spaces, psyop, this and that. People are always saying psyop. But he's about to really delve into it. Why are they telling you something that can easily be proven not true? Like, okay, maybe this is going to be the second time since 1950 that a Fed pause was followed by an increase in interest rates. It's possible. It could happen. It's a possibility, but is it plausible? Because 9 out of 10 times it's gone down. So why would they tell you the opposite? Well, Jerome Powell, again, he's playing his dance. He's trying to get his job done. And who's going to help him? It's going to be the mainstream media. They own them. And that's when, when people tell you about this, they don't just give you the news. The mainstream, it should be the like CNBC and ABC, NBC, Fox, and all them. How come they don't show the same charts? How come they don't go into the same historic references that George Gammon does and others? Why don't he just come right out and say it? Like, yo, this is the thing. This is what he's dealing with. We'll see what he does. Nah, they're going to come out here. They're going to tell you. They're going to use the words, and they're going to have their friends in the media use these words to create this narrative so they can do exactly what Sister Candace is saying right here. They got to squeeze the last few drops out of the working class, right? And they got to squeeze the last few drops out of those people who are just above the working class, not quite the 1%ers, but those people who are up there getting the M's too. So, and they have help. And they're going to turn around and they'll point at someone like George Gammon, like, oh man, he's a doom and gloomer. Man, bro, he got the charts though. What do you have? What are you showing me? He's showing me the receipts. And then what the kids say, he's showing me the receipts. What do y'all have? He just showed me since going back to 1950, it's happened 10 times and only 1 out of 10 times did it not go down. Talking about the rates. But they can't do that. Like he said, now he's going to get into this part. And trust me, George Gammon, Brother George is not a tinfoil hat dude. He's a realist. He's a guy who's gone into business and he's pulled himself up by the bootstraps. He's successful. And he's just looking at this stuff, bro. He was like, how am I supposed to believe you? Right? So check this out.
One giant psyop. What? That's all the dot plot is. It's a psyop that's produced by the psyop. Oh, geez. And look at this. Powell declines to call June decision a skip. Why? Why would he do that? Why would he refrain from using that language? Why back in 2019, when he obviously did quantitative easing after the repo spike, why was he so adamant? Don't call, whatever you do not call this QE. And the mainstream media, don't listen to those idiots on YouTube and the alternative media space that are calling this QE. What do they know? This isn't QE. Just listen to Jerome Powell. They're just buying short-term T-bills. Duh. Right? Why are they so careful about the wording? Because it's a psyop. That's all this is. If it wasn't a psyop, he wouldn't care what you call this. He wouldn't care if you call it a pause or a pivot or a skip or a call it whatever you want. Why is he so careful about the words that the media is using? Again, because this is all psychological head games. This has nothing to do with reality. Jerome Powell was reluctant to describe the decision as a skip. Well, what would you call it? Like reluctant. So Powell's the skip, I shouldn't call it a skip. The decision. What does that even mean? The decision was to skip, idiot. It's one and the same.
You see what I mean? They're playing with these words. Why is that important? Remember, I told you the market moves on the words that they use. So he's trying to control the market. He's trying to figure out if the moves that he made with the interest rates rising, like rising interest rates and all that, right? So he's trying to figure all that out. But he doesn't want people to do certain things, so he's using his words, right? And people do it all the time. Yeah, I remember back when we invaded Iraq. Remember when we did that after 9/11, we invaded Iraq, right? You had Donald Rumsfeld and he was running around talking about unknown knowns and known knowns and all that kind of stuff. Bro, it's the same thing. Well, don't call it a skip. You skipped, right? You skipped raising interest rates this month. You've been raising interest rates for like the what, past 17 months or something like that, however long he's been doing it. You skipped this one and you say you're about to raise them again next month. So that is exactly what it is. What is it? It's a skip, right? It's a skip. I don't want you to use that word. Huh? And it goes all the way back to that known knowns and known unknowns. It's just completely confusing, smoke and mirrors. And that's the narrative that's getting pumped out there by the mainstream media, right? So it's like, bro, like I said, whenever you watch the news, you have to go and you got to vet it yourself. They got to try to find out, okay, well, let me look at some other sources. Let me look at this. Let me look at that. Let me read this. Let me read that. Try to figure this out. And when he's saying QE, that's quantitative easing. That's when they flood the market with money by making money cheap and drop interest rates. That's quantitative easing. T-bills or treasury bills. In case anybody was wondering, like all this stuff is new to me. So when I hear this stuff in that world, of course, people know what that means. But for me, I'm still new. So I like to say the whole term so I can remind myself what it means. But yeah, known unknowns, known knowns, unknown knowns. So, okay, skip. No, it's not a skip. It's a decision. It's all the same thing, yo. It's all the same thing. Lady Navoa's in the house. What's good, love? Good to see you. Good to see you. Showing love. We about to start our love soon. Thursday, my biggest my days. I'll be back and forth, bro. It's all good. I appreciate it, love. We over here chilling. I appreciate it. Thank you for even thinking about me, man. I appreciate you. I do. So make it happen. I'm not gonna be too late or too long on this. We're gonna finish up this video. We got one more video, just trying to hammer home a point, right? Because again, it's the smoke and mirrors. It's the smoke and mirrors. Don't call it a skip. What do you want me to call it? You skipped raising the interest rates this month, right? And historically, when you skip raising the interest rates go down the following month, right? Which is the last thing that should happen if we're going to fight inflation. But Wall Street, the bankers, they want those interest rates to go down. There are a lot of people out there who want to see the interest rates drop, the Fed interest rate drop, because they need that. They are in trouble. They made mistakes. So this is the thing. This is what's going on right now. Let's continue.
However, he did not push back on the question that described the decision as a skip. Wow. The mainstream media has completely just fallen off a cliff. And the mainstream media is just utterly worthless, other than just as pure propaganda for the central planners and the authoritarians and the politicians. They're completely brain dead. They're sitting there actually trying to debate and as though this is relevant as to what Jerome Powell is calling this, whether it's a decision or a skip, when again, that third grader, it's obvious that a skip is a decision For heaven's sakes, they're one and the same. Whether you skip, pause, pivot, I don't care what you do. It's a decision, for heaven's sakes. You know what? It's like Josh saying, hey, did you skip lunch today? And me saying, oh, no. Are you kidding me? Skip lunch. Like, yeah, but you decided not to eat lunch. Well, yeah, but I didn't skip lunch. It was just my decision to not eat lunch. That's how stupid this is. The clown world we live in.
I mean, and he's so true. But and people are like, well, why do they do it? Bro, they have to. Billions and trillions of dollars are riding on this. They have to. And I forgot to tell you guys. So we talked about quantitative easing. That's when they lower interest rates and make money cheap. Just bare bones breakdown. And the opposite of that is quantitative tightening, and that's what we're doing now when they make money expensive by raising interest rates and they slow the flow of money to the system. So QE and QT. So but yeah, man, this that it's the chairman of the central bank in America, the Federal Reserve. He has a job to do, and he's out here just like talking crazy. And his main ally or one of his tools is not only the White House, not only the Secretary of Treasury, but it's also the media. And they're gonna like sit down and talk about the words he's using. Meanwhile, right, money is changing hands. Things are moving well one or the other. So yeah, that was the yeah, that's where we are with that. George Gammon. Make sure y'all go over and check out his YouTube channel. He's putting out a lot of great information. He does conferences. He just had one in Orlando last month or the month before where he brings out, people gonna come out and tell you, their take on what's going on with money and central banks and crypto and all that. He just had one. Unfortunately, I missed it, but I heard it was. I know it was successful because I was watching to see how the tickets were going, and the tickets went really quick, especially when he got close to it. I want to say he sold out, got really close to selling out, especially with the VIP packages. So yeah, I plan to hopefully next year, maybe later on this year or next year, definitely when he does another conference to go check it out. So there's another one. So Peter Schiff was on Fox, and we're about to watch this clip, which is on Peter Schiff's YouTube channel. And please go over there and check him out too. Peter Schiff, Schiff. Again, this is another person I love watching and learning from when it comes to money. And this guy keeps it 100. He's like, this is what's going on, and this is why. And he just points out you can't use smoke and mirrors on this dude. He's gonna shatter every mirror in the room. He's gonna blow away all the smoke. It's like, hey man, this is what it is. Look here. I mean, everybody's got you looking over there. No. Look over here. Look at this. And he's real similar to George Gammon. So let's pull this up and check this out, guys, because what Schiff was talking about, I can absolutely get behind. So it was Peter Schiff and there was another talking head on here. I don't know the guy's name. And again, this was on Fox Business. So he was asked what he think Jerome Powell is really doing, like what's going on with this Fed pause. And what Peter Schiff is about to say here is exactly my take on this whole thing. As a guy who knows nothing, I'm just kind of looking at what's going on. I'm not bogged down by all of the extra knowledge. I'm just watching. And what Peter Schiff was about to say is the conclusion I came to when I heard the pause made about the Fed pause. I'm like, I think it's this. But again, who am I? I don't know nothing. So let's check this out.
So why pause now, Peter?
Well, I think Powell is actually concerned about the evolving financial crisis that has only just gotten started. I think it's going to ultimately exact a heavy toll on the real economy, on the so-called strong labor market. I don't believe that this is a hawkish pause. I mean, Powell admitted that the risks to inflation are still to the upside. He talked about how important it is to get inflation down to 2% and how far away we are from achieving that goal. He's forecasting 2 more rate hikes this year. If that's the case, why skip? Why not raise rates right now? If inflation is still a threat and you know you're behind the curve, raise rates. I think Powell's afraid of what's happening in the economy. He doesn't want to hike rates anymore. He realizes that the rate hikes have already been too much for this fragile economy to bear, but he doesn't want to admit that. So he wants to maintain this specter that the Fed's still on course. To me, it's like that mid-course correction from 2019. I knew at that time that it wasn't a course correction, it was a course change, and that is exactly what we've had.
Volatility is.
So right there, he just broke it down. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. The regional banking system is in real trouble. Yeah, and the next guy, it's another talking head here. I forget his name. I think it's Adam something. He's going to bring it up. But those troubles haven't gone away. They haven't fixed those issues. Money is expensive. Everyone knows. It's in every news cycle that the commercial real estate sector is in the beginnings of a major collapse. Not a correction, but a collapse. So what Peter Schiff is saying is on point. He was like, yo, Jerome Powell don't have the stomach to do what he started out to do. He's afraid. And he knows by continuing to raise interest rates, he is crushing sectors of the market, and he understands that, but he doesn't know what to do. So he's making a pause, and he's sending mixed signals and this and that, and it goes back to what George Gammon was saying. When they pause, they drop interest rates. So the rest of the market is sitting out there like, yeah, we know the interest rates are about to come down. But here's Jerome Powell saying, no, we're gonna raise it. Now smoke and mirrors, mixed signals. What's going on? But Peter Schiff is 100% correct. Raising interest rates have done a number on the commercial real estate sector. It's going to spill over into the residential real estate sector. People trying to buy houses, they can't. Home prices are coming down for those people who are forced to sell. The whole thing with the insurance issues that are going on in Florida, Texas, California, Colorado, right, and other places, that's all factoring in, right? And it's like, people can't get money. Businesses can't get the loans they need at the rate that they need to continue their businesses. And they're walking away from loans. It's all sorts of stuff. It's madness. And Jerome Powell knows this. And the Fed Reserve only has one trick. That's to lower interest rates. Quantitative easing. But they don't want you to call it quantitative easing. They don't want you to call it a skip, right? They want you to call it a pause. Just like they didn't want you to call what happened with First Republic Bank and Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank a bailout. They wanted to call it a backstop, right? Known unknowns, unknown knowns. You see what they're doing? But people like Peter Schiff and these other people are like, nah, bro. Like this is what he's seeing. This is what he's afraid of. So this is what it is. Sister Candace, he doesn't know what to do. Incompetence. I think it's fear. He knows what to do. He needs to raise interest rates. He knows exactly what to do. He only has two choices. You raise interest rates or you don't. That is the only tool that the Federal Reserve had. That's how we got the zero interest rates in the first place. They kept lowering rates, lower. Corporate welfare, bailouts, tax breaks. Meanwhile, Congress and elected officials are just running up the debt. He knows what to do. He just doesn't have the wherewithal, the courage to do it for whatever reason. This is how it works. That's a tough job. I guess his mama told him, no matter what, you're going to get a trophy. Everybody gets a trophy. Now, he wasn't told that because he's older than me. He knows what a loser is and what a winner is. He's trying to be a winner, but he doesn't have the guts to do it. It just doesn't seem like he has the guts. Let's continue.
Dropping. We now have it straddling 14 points. Okay, it's been below that in the past couple of days as well, but down 4% at the moment. So seems like the market is comfortable with this. But Andy, there was a point where specifically he stressed, and this was not there yet. We're not there yet on tackling and killing inflation. Let's listen to how he put that. And then I need your response on that, because like Peter said, why then pause? Because what you have when you pause is now you're stopped and you've got an inert thing and you've got to get the energy to start it back up again in July if necessary. Here's what Powell said.
Right. Yeah. You see, everyone, if you use any kind of thought process, right, if you put it through the think tank, you're going to come to the same conclusion that this lady just came to. The same thing that George Gammon was saying, the same thing that Peter Schiff was saying. If you're going to continue to raise the rates, then why skip? Why do it? Why do it? If it's your intent to like, well, we're just gonna do this, skip this pause so we can see, gauge better the effects of our previous rate hikes. Okay, fine. But they didn't say that, did they? Right? They didn't say that. And then historically, when they do a pause, they drop the rates. So people who think, if you put it through to your think tank, if you have critical thinking abilities, right? If you know how to think stuff through, if you use good old fashioned common sense, if you can, because most people, again, are on that hamster wheel. They're working constantly. They can't really keep up with this. But it doesn't take long. Like George Gammon was saying, a third grader could figure this out. So let's listen to what Powell had to say.
Forecasters, including Fed forecasters, have consistently thought that inflation was about to turn down, and traditionally, typically forecasted that it would, and been wrong. So I think if you look at core PCE inflation overall, look at it over the last 6 months, you're just not seeing a lot of progress. It's running at a level, over 4.5%, far above our target, and not really, moving down. We want to see it moving down decisively. That's all. Of course, we are going to get inflation down to 2% over time. We don't want to do, we want to do that with the minimum damage we can to the economy, of course, but we have to get inflation down to 2%, and we will. And we just don't see that yet.
And yet he's.
Oh boy, so we need to get it down over time. We know we need to get it down to 2%. He knows, like I said, Sister Candace, he knows he needs to get the inflation down. The inflation rate has to come down. The only way to do that is to raise interest rates. He knows what to do. He's just afraid to do it. It's not incompetence. He knows he's just afraid to do it. And he said, we're going to get it down to 2%. Before, when he started all this years back, he was like, no, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to do this. We're going to attack inflation. We're going to get it down. We're going to make this happen. It was like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right now. Today or yesterday, he's saying, well, we're going to get it down to 2% eventually over time. How much time, bro? Like, you talking about time? How much time? Oh, we're going to get it down eventually, maybe 15 years from now. What do you mean? In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and lower these rates because we have the commercial real estate sector that's very stressed, and it's spilling over into the residential sector. And then we have these insurance issues, right? So the insurance sector is messed up. And meanwhile, joblessness rates are going up. People are unemployed. Companies are tightening the belt and laying off. You see, it's all this stuff going on. He just doesn't seem to have the heart, the balls to keep pushing forward and raising interest rates. That's what I think's going on. Let's see what they have to say.
Pausing. What are our viewers supposed to interpret from that?
First of all, Powell is a dove in wolf's clothing, always has been, always will be. But Peter hit it right on the head. It's the regional banking system. They're in tremendous distress. Sure, it hasn't been in the headline for the last few weeks, but just look at Treasury bills. If the Fed's going to raise rates further, T-bills are going to be between 5.5% and 6%. Why would anyone in their right mind keep money in bank deposits at 3% or 4% or 1%?
What do you mean 3 or 4? They're still at zero. They're not. No, Bank of America is 0 on checking and 5 basis points on
Apple
savings
Card isn't.
account.
Citi isn't. Capital One isn't. I just put money into 4. Okay, I get that, but you're right about.
You see how Peter Schiff jumped in there talking about, well, you getting 3% of the bank. The wealthy people are getting that. If you got, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in there, yeah, you getting that 3%, but they're not going over that 3.5%. But everybody else, 0. What are you getting in your checking and your savings right now, y'all? Right? There's some credit unions out there trying to do something. But why put your money into the bank when you go buy a T-bill, a Treasury bill, and you're getting, 4.5%, 4.5%, 5%, or whatever they're giving you? That's a huge difference. And the banks, these regional banks, are in trouble, right? So, and Peter just has a good point he's going to make here real quick. Let's check this out.
When you look at the short-term T-bills, right? Anything from 1 month, 3 month, we call it the party of 5%. Like 6 of them up until 1 year are all yielding 5+%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would that go higher?
And Powell is significantly downplaying the risk in the commercial real estate market. This is a crash already happening in slow motion.
Why are regionals going down?
Well, first of all, they're all going down because why even keep your money in a bank that might fail? They're all insolvent. when they bailed out Silicon Valley Bank and a couple of others, they made it clear that it's a case-by-case basis whether they're going to cover accounts in excess of 500 or the 250 limit. The government has created a run on the regional banks, on the community banks. They are disasters. The only thing that's really propping them up now is the Fed and the government. But also, Powell is significant.
All of these regionals are reverting. They had been in the green. They are now going red. Yesterday on this show, Duke professor Campbell Harvey, who invented the term in yield curve inversion, which, by the way, at this point, Charlie Brady, our managing editor, is saying that the yield curve inversion is the widest in 3 months. It is a huge gap. And that
the yield curve inversion, George Gammon's been talking about that for going on 2 years now. Y'all need to watch George Gammon. He's been talking about that for 2 years now, and he shows you the charts, and he shows you why it is the way it is. And this is why the indicator. This is why people tell you there's a recession coming, because of this inversion, right? He talks about it all the time. He's been talking about it for 2 years. I found George Gammon on Fresh and Fit. He was on Fresh and Fit, and I've been watching him ever since, over 2 years ago. And then Peter Schiff was talking about the FDIC insurance, it's $250,000, right? And there was talk after the banks went down out west that they were going to raise that to $500,000 per account. And then, of course, they're going to have to charge the banks more money for that insurance. But right now, the banks are having trouble. So the next bank that goes under, they don't have the money to pay for it. So if you're over that, and even with the insurance, they were like, well, the government is going to step in and decide if they're going to cover that $250,000. They may or may not do it. Anything over that, they definitely probably won't do it. So this is why he's saying, why are people putting monies in the bank when the bank is not even secure anymore, especially the smaller banks. Now, the too big to fail banks, that's different. Put your money in Chase, put your money in Citi, put your money in, like the big banks. But the smaller banks, the regional banks, that's where all of the business people go to get their money. The small to medium-sized to large businesses, they go there. When you want to get your loan for your home, you go into a regional bank. When you want to get a loan to start a business or to expand your business, you go to a regional bank. The regional banks is what props up the middle class. It's the regional banks that drives the economy. And the regional banks are in trouble because they bet long and they bet wrong. So again, this is what they're talking about. Sister Candace, they are talking past so many people here, 250 to 500K. Many don't have 500 to cover a surprise expense. Facts. But they are talking past most people, but there are a lot of people out there, small business owners that they are talking to. Like you look at someone like Patrick Bet-David. He was down to his last $13,000, and before he made it big, and he had payroll he couldn't reach. So he would have had accounts that were in excess of 250K, 500K, that he was responsible for through his business. And then, of course, like your money's gonna be mixed up with your business money when you're trying to get a business off the ground. So yeah, there are people out there that understand this kind of talk. But I get you, like the average person, yeah, they ain't talking to the average person. You know what I mean? If someone got that kind of bread, they ain't talking to them. But those people are listening right now because, again, those are the people that drive the economy. But I'm with you, sis. You're right. He ain't talking to us. I don't think there's anybody listening to this podcast right now that's sitting on that kind of money in one account in a bank. You got $500,000 in one account in a bank. I could see like money in your 401k or your portfolio. That's different. But just actually, I got this money sitting in the bank. And if you are one of those people, you definitely need to be paying attention. Let's listen to the rest of this.
That is a screaming sign of recession. And yet all we see are these so-called points of strength. The Fed is pausing. I mean, this looks, like I said, 50 shades of gray.
The banks are loaded up with low-yielding, long-term debt, whether it's mortgage debt, treasury debt, and they're losing their deposit base because their depositors are not going to take the risk of the bank failing. They can't get any yield. They can just pull the money out and loan it to the government by buying a money market fund. The Fed created this disaster by keeping interest rates at zero for about 14 years, for running up a $9 trillion balance sheet. If Powell really thought inflation was a big risk, he shouldn't have lit the match.
Andy, Do you think Jay Powell, looking at the Fed funds futures leading up to today, where they got as high as 98% for a pause today, do you think he was influenced by that? And that's why he paused?
I think that was part of it, Liz, but I think he was going to pause regardless. I mean, when he had Jefferson go out there 2 weeks ago and say, we're going to pause, that was it. He had already made the decision. And CPI really wasn't going to change that no matter what the number was. You know, the problem that they have now is Powell had two people that were ready to dissent. So that's why he tried to sound hawkish. That's why they did talk about 2 more rate hikes. I think they're done. And one last thing with regional banks, remember, when you put money in treasury bills, if you live in a high tax state, that is non-taxable for state tax, which makes it even more valuable.
Well, they're only done until the market forces their hand, because
That's
eventually inflation is going to run out of control and the Fed is going to have to hike. But the one thing that Powell could do that would help is to, warn Congress that they got to cut back on this reckless government spending, bring down these deficits. That's one thing that might make a difference.
Okay.
But he cops out. He refuses to go there because he says that, well, fiscal policy is not part of what he does.
Gotcha.
It's exactly what he does, because it's the monetization of those massive budget deficits that is the root cause of the inflation that the Fed creates.
Dow Jones Industrials down 200.
And right there is, like I said, Peter Schiff is going to get to you 100. That is the problem. Washington keeps creating debt. More money. And it with no, they're not even trying to cut back on the debt and stuff like that. And that is the problem. Even with the regional bank situation and the people with this little money, man, that's little money, man. With the stuff that Congress is doing, right? When we pulled up the debt clock, y'all saw that clock and how fast that thing goes up and up and up and up. That's where the real problem lies. Another thing that Peter Schiff said, I don't know if y'all peeped it, but he was like, it doesn't matter. At some point, he's going to have to raise interest rates no matter what. Again, facts. Jerome Powell understands that. He understands that. You have to raise interest rates to combat inflation. Do it now, you do it later, but you're going to have to do it. There's no way around it. There's absolutely no way around it. So, and that's where we are, man. They were talking about the CPI. I believe that's the Consumer Price Index, if I'm not mistaken, CPI. So, and that's one of those huge indicators that they look at. There are people out there in this show, earlier on this show, they were talking about the employment numbers, and they were calling them straw numbers. Like, oh, the employment numbers are good. Not really. It's more that smoke and mirror stuff. And they're about to let the truth get out on how many people aren't working, how many people lost their jobs, how many people are now going looking for unemployment and all that kind of stuff. So we are there. Like, we have been slowly moving towards this massive, the storm has been slowly moving towards us. This financial storm has been slowly moving towards us. It's here now. And, how are we going to get out of it? Don't know. You know what I mean? Don't know. But we're going to see. So I think George Gammon is right. And I think the Fed, I think Jerome Powell is going to begin lowering interest rates as soon as next month. I believe that's the case. How low will it go? Don't know. And that's going to cause inflation to start going up again. Congress is not going to stop spending money. So there's not going to be any help there. And the regional banks are going to continue to struggle. A lot of these regional banks are going to go under. And they're going to be gobbled up by the too big to fail banks. That's going to happen. And in the meantime, we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. Sister Candace, car loan, mortgage rates, credit card investment rates, credit card interest rates are at their highest in many years, all when student loan payments are set to resume, average payment north of $400. Yep. These people are going to have to start paying those student loans back. Like you said, $400. That is going to hurt, and that money has to be paid. So that's what we're looking at. Brother Dino's in the house. What's good, fam? How you feeling? Corporation or rising prices, even as they rake in record profits. Corporate profit margins hit record highs last year. Yep. Even under Biden, like the oil companies made more money they ever made in their life under Biden, under a liberal, under a Democrat. Imagine that. Yeah. UPS drivers and workers are ready to go on strike. I think they're supposed to go on strike tomorrow. Meanwhile, UPS has made more money, I think, than the company's ever made. And, the workers about to go on strike because they don't want to share any of that profit, not even with the workers who are helping you get that profit. Like, come on. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. There's a lot going on. Jerome Powell sees all this stuff. He knows what's going on. He knows what he needs to do. He needs to continue to raise interest rates, and he stopped. He did the pause. And what's going to happen next? Historically, right? 9 times out of 10, going all the way back to 1950 something, when there's a pause in interest rates, that's followed by a dip. Interest rates go down, right? That's what it is. Jack Black, we got the night. Like I said, we got my knights up in the house. What's good? One of the new Templars, man. So I was told that we won't see interest rates on homes at 3 to 4% ever again. No time soon. That's going to be up to the banks. I doubt if we'll see that, but definitely no time soon. Like, if right now you're looking at interest rates 6.5% and up. I know people who were quoting interest rates on a second home that was like close to 8%, like 7.5, between 7.5 and 7.8%. And that was on like $350,000. But again, that was the second home. But your primary homes, it's going to be in the 6% range, I think, maybe a little lower. Will we ever see 3 and 4% interest rates again? Maybe one day, maybe. But I doubt if we see it in the short term, and I don't think anyone's expecting it. So once people adjust to the interest rate, then they'll go out and they'll buy homes. But this is just something we got to watch. You know what I mean, Brother Dino? Your last 2 months of jobs gains was just revised up. Yeah. But again, it depends on what numbers you're looking at and what they are considering. Because they're kind of, they'll go and they'll look at people who are, how many more Uber drivers or, Lyft drivers, or how many more people who are doing like part-time. It depends on what numbers you're looking at. But as every time someone gets laid off from, Amazon, or they get laid off from Tesla, or they get laid off from somewhere in Silicon Valley, which a lot of layoffs are occurring out there. When people are told to come back into the office and people say, no, I'm not coming back to the office, and they lose their jobs. So the numbers are going to all come to a head because the math ain't mathing over here. Politicians need certain numbers to make themselves look good, right? Wall Street needs certain numbers so they can continue making money on Wall Street. That's all part of this storm is just inching in. This insurance thing is going to be devastating to the residential real estate market. Devastating. You got people who are holding on to second and third homes. They're waiting because they think interest rates are going to get back down to 3 and 4%, and they want to wait and at that point sell. I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, bro, what do I know? You know what I mean? Car loans, yeah. Sister Candace, you're right. Car loans, darn near 8%. Yeah, the average cost of a car loan in America is like $1,000. It's the average car note. I think the average rent is around $2,000. And if you're buying homes now, the average mortgage is like flirting with like $3,000, like, like the high 2s, low 3s. And Americans haven't been making more money. So think about that. And then you have all that, and then you land on top of that with the insurance thing that's going on. Like, okay, you're mortgaging your house, but we have to raise your insurance on your home by 60%. We gotta, or more, and we gotta raise the insurance on your car by 60% or more. And that's it. That's the death knell. It's a wrap. Right? It's a wrap. Game over. Game over. And it doesn't matter what the interest rates are. It doesn't matter what Jerome Powell does. The whole thing begins to fall. The whole thing begins to fall. And then you're looking at businesses walking away from, their loans or their buildings. They can't get the money they need. They can't get cheap enough money to, meet their payroll and do all this other kind of stuff. Oh man, it'd be bad. It could be very, very bad, Brother Dino. There is no new government spending plan for this year. Yeah, but they haven't made any cuts. So they're still spending. And mind you, they're not counting the money that we're dumping into Ukraine. They don't count that as part of the budget. That gets added in later. They don't count in, money for a backstop or money for this or that. All that stuff is like those supplemental spending bills. They don't count that. So, and actually we are spending more. America's always going to spend more. You know what I mean? And there it is. Sister Candace was like, right, except when Ukraine needs more money. Yeah, we're sending over 15 more Bradley fighting vehicles, man. They're dumping another 30 billion into that war. So, and that money isn't counted by them in that way. Like, well, we haven't increased our spending. Well, what about this 30 billion we about to send over here to Ukraine? Oh, that doesn't count. Yes, it does. Right? What about the other 30 billion? You know what I mean? What about the 10 million or the 10 billion we sent to, you know, you name the country? Like, look what's going on in Taiwan. Right now, we're building, I want to say 3 or 4, it may be more, military installations in the Philippines. Where'd that money come from? Right? Where did that money come from? I guarantee, I doubt seriously that was already included in the military spending budget. I doubt it very seriously. But, you know, where's that money coming from? You know what I mean? And Jack Black's like, damn, my rent's $725. Yeah, stay up there where you at, bro. You come down here. You get a 1-bedroom down here, $1,500, bro. $1,500. Down here where I'm sitting, $1,500. I mean, that's all day. If you anywhere near the water, man, you go ahead and throw another $300 on top of that. You know, Brother Donald, like, Putin's war on freedom is a good fight. Yeah, I ain't mad. I mean, dude, I trained to fight Russians. I'm not mad. I'm just saying, where's that money coming from? And, you know, people get tired of this funny accounting stuff. I'm not mad about, you know, helping Ukraine, like giving the Ukrainians the tools they need to stop Putin. I'm not upset about that one bit, but let's count the money and let's be real about it. Let's start making some tough decisions. We want to send $30 billion to help stop Putin. Then we got to find $30 billion to cut somewhere else. Let's do that. Or at least cut 10 billion somewhere. Let's at least attempt to. And that's what Peter Schiff was talking about. Jerome Powell could go to them and tell them, y'all need to do this now because I'm going to keep raising interest rates. But he ain't doing that because he ain't got, you know, he ain't got the balls, man. He's afraid. He knows what he needs to do, but he won't do it. And Brother Dino's Ukraine is getting your old stock. It ain't that old, bro. And even our old stuff, it costs a lot of money. We have to take off most of the tech. So they're not even getting like our high-tech stuff, but it's a lot of money, man. For Abrams, for Bradley, you know, there's talk about the F-15s. I mean, those things are expensive, man. Those things are real expensive. The ammo, the weapons, the body armor, you know, all the other stuff, the uniforms, the boots, you know, all that stuff adds up, man. All of it, the training, the pay, all that supplements, you know, you still got to pay the soldiers in the field. So, I mean, again, I'm not mad. I'm okay with fighting the Russians through Ukraine. I'm okay with that, but it costs a lot of money, bro. It costs a lot of money. You know, Brother Dino, like, who decided to put jet engines in tanks? Right? Americans did, right? That's why the Abrams is the most formidable tank the world has ever seen, bro. Not just the jet engines, but all the computer stuff that's on board. Bro, it takes a lot to even turn that thing on. It takes a lot. But hey, bro, you don't want to face that thing. Abrams is coming over the hill with that jet engine inside the tank. You don't want to mess with that, bro. You don't want to mess with it. That's how we get down over here, bro. America. And Brother Jack Black, my area in 15 years is going to be in the HUA in the in between Tampa and Orlando, man. Yeah, Tampa and Orlando, they say, is going to be, those cities are going to merge, kind of like Minneapolis, St. Paul. You know, that's been in the news for a long time, and it's happening. You can see how Orlando is branching out. Tampa is branching out. So yeah, they're going to merge into, like, you know, like the Twin Cities kind of thing. That's definitely going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, hub. That's what you meant. And Sister Candace, I'm not okay. We have terrorists in the U.S. We aren't fighting. Facts. I mean, it's just old school people. You know, we were, you know, again, my generation, we were raised to fight Russians. You get an opportunity to take a swipe at them, we going to do it. And that's who's in office right now. Like the people who sit, you know what I mean, on those committees or whatever. That's what they're doing. I mean, it is what it is. And that we're all dying out. So we're the end of that breed. These new politicians coming up, I don't think they have the same desire to strike Russia like that. And you know, Putin ain't gonna be around forever either. You know what I mean? If his own people don't get him, you know, Father Time will. So it's just a matter of time before it all changes up. And once Putin's gone, that's the end of the Cold War. Once Putin is gone, it's over. He's going to be gone one way or the other. He's going to have to leave and live in exile and take all the money. You know, Putin's one of the wealthiest people on the planet. Or he's going to win the war in Ukraine and annex Ukraine, or he's going to lose the war, and his people are going to oust him and be a civil war, and they're going to come and get him and take him out. So those, to me, it's just a matter of time. And once Putin is gone, it's over. That's the end of the Cold War, in my humble opinion. So, and then Brother Dino, like 8 million for your tank, and Europe's is 4 million. Yeah, like that. What is it? The Panther? Not the Panther. The German. It's not a Panther tank. Germans in their cats. The Panther had the Panther, Tiger. That's World War II. It's not Jaguar. It's one of the cats. One of the big cats is the tank that the Germans sent over. And a couple of them have already been blown up. But it is what it is. And Sister Candace, I hear you, Brother DL. However, you can't be more concerned about other wars than the ones directly affecting our people. Facts. Can't argue with you on that one. I can't argue with you on that one. And, and how we going to deal with our homegrown terrorists, we're going to have to see. We are going to have to see. So yeah, that's it, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed that, man. Be paying attention to what's going on out here. With the money. Be paying attention to what's going on with the Fed. Be paying attention to what's going on with Treasury. Because that's our money. This is crazy stuff. Like, look what's going on with these interest rates. I bet you the interest rates drop in July. I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 they've dropped, man. So we're gonna see. Let's keep our eye on that. And then as far as everything else, man, let's just keep each other informed. Hey, let's just do what we can to keep ourselves up to speed on what's going on. I'm gonna do what I can to keep bringing this information to the platform, and hopefully this information helped somebody. You know what I mean? Hopefully it did. And it is what it is. Brother Dino is like Panther and Challenger. Yeah, Challenger's the UK tank. Yeah, it's a Panther. Yeah, because they had the Panther in World War II, and they had the Tiger. That's why I got confused. I thought it was a different one. But it is what it is. Sister Candace, we are fighting economic, health, terrorism, etc. wars right here in the U.S. Facts, sis. You are 100% correct. W Show, thank you, love. I appreciate that. I do. I truly do. And there's a lot going on, and people don't want to deal with multiple problems at the same time. And then Sister Candace with the $10 super sticker. Thank you, love. I truly appreciate that. I truly appreciate that. And I'm going to keep it going. We got our numbers. Our numbers are low. You know what I mean? But we're going to continue to put in the work. We're going to grow these numbers up. One day we're going to come in here and we're going to see, 10,000 people. Like, whoa, what happened? And I can't wait for that day to happen. But until then, we're just going to keep grinding, putting in the work, putting out the content. I'm going to continue to stay all over the place because I really do want to know about all these different things. Yeah. And shout out to my man, Vincent Oshana. He has his show Off the Ground now down at Valuetainment, man. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. He has a real cool set. Let me find it real quick. Let me find Vinny's show. I saw it this morning. If you guys haven't done so, please go over there and check it out. Value. Let me see if I can. I can't talk and type at the same time. But it's called the Vincent Oshana Show. And man, oh man, it's good. He's already up to episode 9. And I'm gonna play this real quick so we can see it. And here it is right here. So check this out, guys. This is Vinny's show right here, man. The Vincent Oshana Show on Valuetainment. I watched a little bit this morning, and this is my guy. Vinny is real funny. He's been around forever. One hell of a comedian. He's done some TV shows, done some pilots and stuff like that that didn't take off, but that's just a Hollywood thing. Like he is a heavy hitter out there in Hollywood, man. I don't know why this thing ain't playing. Oh, there it is. So check it out. He has a great set. They film in the Valuetainment studios. Yeah, like Vinny's doing big thing. They have cheers now. They bring people out and kind of like, here it is right here. They have people come out, sit down. It's just a regular talk show, man. It's like, you know what I mean? So go over there and support Vinny. I'm gonna be down there as soon as I can. I'm gonna go down there and holler at him, check him out. And there's also gonna be a lot of stand-up comedy going on down there. So check out Vincent Oshana, y'all. Go check him out. Give him a like, give him a subscribe. Brother Jack was like, win DL. Appreciate that, bro. Brother Dino. Ken Pozek is the YouTuber for All Tampa Property Deal. I'm gonna check him out. Kansas, 1,400 subs. Yeah, we getting there, sis. We getting there. We're trying to get to 1,500. We getting there. Sister Candace, like Tristan Tate interview tomorrow morning on Valuetainment. I'll be watching that. I'll definitely be watching that. And I'm pretty sure this is another one that's edited because they want to make sure he doesn't get themselves in trouble with the pending charges and all that stuff. So, man, I hope y'all enjoyed that, man. Thanks for rocking with me. I really appreciate you. You know I do. We're gonna keep growing, keep grinding, keep trying to make it happen. And like I said, I'll do my best to keep my eye and ears open and bring as much as I can to you guys about what's going on out here. Tomorrow we'll do another Downrange podcast where we'll be talking about some local politics and stuff like that. Until then, I'm gonna see y'all, man. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make it happen, man. If you're at home with your kids, man, go tell your kids you love them. You know what I mean? If you're at home with your mom and dad, go tell your mom and dad you love them. With your wife, your boyfriend, whoever, let them know, because a lot of people need to hear it, even though they say they don't, but they really do. They really do. So I'm gonna holler at you later, man. I'm DL saying this is the Downrange Podcast, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Darn, that's the end.